Go ahead, Chair.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all your help, Suki. Okay, so
Can you assign me and Ron as interpreters?
Yes, so I'm gonna give you the instructions and then you'll say your instructions here and then I'll start the Spanish channel, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So I would like to welcome everyone to the January Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commission meeting. This is our annual meeting, so we'll have a lot of business to conduct this evening. I'm going to pass this over to Suki so he can give instructions about translation.
Thank you, Chair. So this meeting, the live interpretation of this entire meeting will be provided in Spanish. To access the live interpretation services, please click the globe icon and then select the Spanish language. At this time, I would like my colleague Teresa to provide these instructions in Spanish, please.
Buenas tardes a esta reunión del Sistema Juvenil del Condado de San Mateo. Si desean escuchar la transmisión en español, por favor, hágale clic en el globo que está en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Gracias.
Start the Spanish channel. Give me 1 second, please.
Yes, I'd just like to make one adjustment to the agenda, and that is to move the roll call down to item G and move up the swearing in and the reappointments of our commissioners so they can be included in the votes. All right, so that would bring us then to our swearing in. We have swearing in of new Commissioner Nicholas Clemmer. We also have the reappointment of Karen Huber-Levy and Whitney Ginevro and Kenneth Williams. I do not see Kenneth Williams in the building, but we can go ahead and proceed and we can put Kenneth on for next month.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And is everyone ready? So I have the oaths for Nicholas Clemmer, Karen Huber-Levy, and Whitney Ginevro then. And if you would please then raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I,
Clemmer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties I am about to enter.
discharge the duties that I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome to Nicholas. I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
I know, I'm sorry. I've just been feeling a little bit sick, so I thought it would be better if I were to attend on Zoom just to not get anyone else sick, but I really wish that I were to be there in person.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that will bring us then to roll call.
Thank you. Start with Commissioner Huber-Levy.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Montani.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Blanco.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Bocanegra. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Ginevra.
Here.
Commissioner Amayanari. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Shakil Ali. Here. Thank you. Commissioner Wahila Hata is absent. Commissioner Williams is absent. And then we have our new Commissioner Nicholas Clemmer. And since you are sick, he will be using that provision for the Brown Act to participate online, right? Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Is there anybody else in the room over the age of 18?
What was that?
Is there anyone in your room that is over the age of 18?
No, I'm home alone right now.
Perfect, thank you. So you're present, and then Chair Rasmussen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that will bring us to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as with the modifications?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda with the modifications.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Bocanegra. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Anyone wishing to abstain? Okay, passes unanimously. Next up is the approval of the meeting minutes for November 19th and December 10th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
All right, do I have a second? Commissioner Bocanegra seconds. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those wishing to abstain? Okay, the meeting minutes are approved unanimously. So this is the.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Judge Cho. Is there something about confidentiality that you need me to read?
Oh, yes. Do you have that? I checked with your bailiff today.
I only have the oaths. I've never been provided with the other document. It's always been just shared on screen.
Okay. Unfortunately, Your Honor, my computer crashed this morning, so I don't have it, but
I may have it.
do you have it, Melissa?
I'll work on it.
Okay. So I think Melissa has it with her.
Okay.
Thank you. I did check with Jack today and he said, oh, no, she has it. So I apologize.
Yes, no, he confirmed with me, but it was only regarding the oath documents.
Okay. So now we're at the section of, we're at the part of the meeting where we have public comment. And this is for items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment? Well, let's see. Okay.
I do have one speaker from this meeting room, and that's Melissa Wilson. Melissa, you can use that mic out there, yeah, and then we'll ask for public comment from Zoom.
I'm Melissa Wilson, and I work with a security track youth currently who wants to be a firefighter. And at the last MDT meeting, I was told by the probation officers that any conversation about transferring him to fire camp was on hold. And so I asked whether this was an individual decision specific to him or whether it was for all secure track youth. And they said it was for the entire group. And applied also to all step down programs. And this has me worried as for him, fire camp is his only path to become a firefighter. The POs have suggested that he take fire EMT classes, but the normal route of EMT certification and firefighting classes does not work for him. He has to go to fire camp for him to become a firefighter. And so I hope that this is something everyone in the room and also the juvenile court judges will take on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that very much.
No additional comments from this room. I do have one speaker online, Jim Lawrence. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Jim Lawrence. I'm the board chair of Fix and San Mateo County, but tonight I'm speaking as an individual, just as a resident. My first question is, there seems to be a significant increase in recidivism, which suggests that maybe the current rehabilitation programs are not achieving their desired outcomes. My question is, what plans are there to address these trends? Because the recidivism rate leads to other things. And my concern is that taxpayers' money and funds are being invested not only in therapy rooms, but in learning modules, yet these resources, or they've been properly utilized. And can someone explain why the recidivism rate at this point in time is increasing?
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, probation is not here tonight, so they're not able to provide any feedback. But that is something that we also have concerns about, and we'll be following up.
Thank you.
Hands are raised in Zoom, so back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now is the time where we get updates from our system partners. And our first update will be from Ron Reyes with the Private Defender Program.
Good evening. So I have two different reports for you since we did not provide an update at the December meeting. So I'm gonna start with the period starting November 19th and December 24th.
Through the chair,
Um,
my apologies. Ron, if you can use the microphone, please.
So I'm gonna run through the numbers in two parts. The first part, November 19th through the 24th, and then from December 25th until today's date. For 602 assignments, we had 39 cases that we assigned out. Of those 39 and again, that's for the period November 19th to December 24th. 9 of them were detentions, and out of the 9, 7 contained 707B allegations. We had out of custody arraignments, 25 cases. Out of those 25, 6 of them alleged 707B type of allegations. And for those who don't know what 707B allegations are, it's reference to the Welfare and Institution Code, and it lists the number of offenses that are considered serious offenses in the juvenile justice system. For that period, we had 1 seating for our Miranda consultation hotline. For that period, we received 16 calls from the police agencies. We conducted 16 consultation. Of those calls, there were 8 youth that were between the ages 16 and 17. And of the 16 youth that we spoke to, 15 of them invoked their right to remain silent. Moving on to the last 4 weeks, December 25th until today's date, January 27th, we assigned out 82 cases. There was 5 detentions, and of the 5 detentions, there were 2 cases that alleged 707B type of offenses, and the rest cases, the 21 cases, were out of custody arraignments, and out of the 21, 3 of them contained 707B allegations. We handled 3 sealings in the last period. We also received 13 police calls on our Miranda helplines. We conducted 13 consultations. The age group 5 were between the 16 and 17 age group, and the remaining were 15 and under. Of the 13 that we spoke to, 12 invoked and 1 was not, did not invoke.
Thank you very much, Ron.
And just to be clarified, that could be a situation where there was no questioning, or this does not mean there's statement given, it just was not an actual investigation.
Thank you so much.
And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Ron Reyes? Okay, well, thank you so much, Ron. Appreciate everyone's being here. Next up is, we do not have a representative from institutions or from probation services, but I believe they did send some data to Commissioner Huber.
Yes, that's correct. So for the period in January 2025 until today, Sanam Aram, who is the Assistant Deputy Chief Probation Officer and Superintendent of Institutions, provided this data. Total youth in institutions is 25. Of those, 23 are male and 5 are secure youth track program youth, and 2 are female. There were 2 out-of-county youth, 1 from Santa Clara and 1 from Sacramento. And the racial breakdown was 18 Hispanic youth, 5 African-American youth, 1 Pacific Islander youth, and 1 mixed race youth. 9 youth were on electronic monitoring devices. Of those 9, 1 female, 8 male, and all were from San Mateo County. And from the juvenile division, Nora Cullen provided this report as Assistant Deputy Chief Probation Officer. In court and diversion, 175 youth. Under supervision, 189 youth, for a total of 364 youth who are in the system. I also received a message from Ms. Jahan Clark, just providing us with an update on some changes in probation. She continues to hold the position of Deputy Chief overseeing juvenile services, and Mr. Monet Wade is now the Deputy Chief overseeing institutions.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to add one thing. It has to do with, well, 2 things. We have 3 units operating right now. So we have Forest 3, Forest 2, and Pine 4. So we do have 3 units that are operating. And I also wanted to add that there's been, I think there's been a lot of talk at the commission meetings about our court clothing program and how we had the late supervisor and Sheriff Don Horsley donate a lot of his clothes. And recently there was some concern about the kids wearing the suits. And I was told by probation that that concern originated with the sheriff and that it was a safety concern. And so I called Sheriff Christina Corpus and I asked her what the safety concerns were. And she conveyed that she didn't have any, and that was not her position, and that she fully supports the program. So I was happy to see that one of our youth was fully dressed in a suit today. So I'm glad we were able to work that out. All right. Oh, yes, Jennifer.
Thank you to the chair. I have a question. Karen, could you please give the numbers again? It was 175 was for diversion?
Yeah, for diversion, and 189 under supervision.
Okay, thank you.
Any other, well, I guess, Commissioner Hoover is just reporting out the data, so she's, yeah. We'll move on to the County Office of Education.
So we do have now, Commissioner Williams,
Yes,
right, so should we have him, do the oath, and then also,
we could.
and then we'll be part of
Sure.
the meeting, and then
Sure.
we also have the oath of confidentiality, so we can maybe share that.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
perfect. Thank you, Susan.
Judge, would you be able to do that for us?
I'm sorry, did someone say something to me?
Yes, could you swear in Commissioner Williams?
Oh, okay, Kenneth Williams. Okay,
After you're done with that, I'll share the oath of confidentiality and you can swear all the other 4.
understood. Thank you. Kenneth Williams, if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me then. Okay, I, Kenneth Williams,
I, Kenneth Williams,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution, I didn't.
Of the state of California.
I'll break it up. The Constitution of the United States
The Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will take this obligation freely
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of
Evasion.
Evasion.
And that I will
That I will
well and faithfully
faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
I am about to enter.
I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please ignore the name there.
Okay. So repeat after me. Recognizing that all juvenile, well, do they need to repeat this?
I think you can state it and then maybe they can say, I agree at the end. Would that be okay? Or then you can still raise your hand.
Okay, so I'll just read the whole thing and then I'll ask if they agree.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right. This is the oath of confidentiality. Recognizing that all juvenile case files and court matters are strictly confidential under California Welfare and Institutions Code, Section 827. Do you, as a member of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice Commission, swear or affirm that you will keep potentially identifying youth information, case file records, cases observed, and other protected information confidential? In addition, do you agree to use the authority of the commission only in the interest of the youth of the county and to use discretion, diligence, and integrity in conducting the business of the commission consistent with its statutory purpose of inquiring into the administration of the juvenile court law? Do you understand this oath of confidentiality and do you agree to it?
I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
I do.
That was all 4 of them, Judge.
That's all four? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so back to report outs. Do we have Sarah Knox with the County Office of Education?
Yes, we do.
Wonderful.
Sarah, I'm going to make you a panelist, so please proceed.
Happy New Year, Sarah. Thank you for being here.
Happy New Year. Good evening, everybody. Apologies for the gravelly voice. I'm getting over a little something, but hopefully you can understand me okay. Not much time has gone by in terms of school days since the last meeting, so I don't have a ton to report, but just wanted to flag a couple of things. One, we finished our career technical education culinary class at Hillcrest right before the holidays, and some of the most amazing dishes I've ever seen, not just students create, but certainly anyone in my house create. So it was wonderful and joyful, and the students did an amazing job. We also are kind of entering the full swing of our curriculum adoption process. And then next week will be, next week. Yes, sorry. Next week we'll be presenting our LCAP mid-year update. So data around progress on our LCAP. Last year was a full 3-year rewrite. So a lot of what we've been doing in this first semester is gathering baseline data, putting systems and procedures in place to really get that work well rooted and implemented to fidelity. So there will be some of the metrics that we can't report out on yet that we'll need to do more completely at the annual update, which will be in at the end of the year. But we'll have some great things to talk about with what we've accomplished so far, and then also what we'll be doing moving forward with the second semester. And then the last bit, and I don't have a ton of information on this, but since it was a topic at a previous commission meeting, I just wanted to share that I know that there are talks in partnership with probation about how to get Paxton Patterson off the ground. So I don't know the specifics exactly. I haven't been in those conversations, but Chris Schaus has, and wanted to make sure that I mentioned that is underway. So that's all I have for you tonight. Happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, sir. That's excellent news about Paxton and Patterson. That's something we've really been hoping to get going. So thank you for that update. Questions for Sarah Knox from County Office of Education? I don't see any. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
I do see one hand raised now from Raimundo Armendaris.
Okay.
Okay, Raimundo, are you planning to speak on this item? If yes, could you please let us know?
Those with Nichols, so you can promote.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you. Do we have Ornette Shohan or Rahina Moreno here from Behavioral Health and Recovery Services?
Yeah, can you all hear me? Yeah, so I'm sorry, I had asked the question during the probation and the alternative defenders presentation on the numbers and the facilities, but it's okay since we're past it in the agenda. It's fine.
So the board does not answer directly to the question that answer it. It's you can ask a question and it's up to the chair to answer or not, but it's not a back and forth question and answer during public comment.
Okay, yeah, no, I just had I had a question around the numbers, but I can just check in later.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Fernando. It would be Rahina Moreno or Ornette Shohan.
Sure. I see Regina. So Regina, I'm going to give you the permission to be a panelist, so please proceed.
Good evening, everyone. Let's see what my updates are. I believe we had already I had already mentioned last time I had attended this meeting that we were in the process of filling 2 of our vacancies, our clinician vacancies, and I'm happy to report that we now have 2 full-time, excuse me, bilingual bicultural clinicians that are part of our team. We also had another bilingual bicultural clinician who had been with us for 11 months. However, she was able to promote and find another position in San Francisco. So we now have 1 vacancy, 2 full-time clinicians that are on board, and we are in the process of hiring for that 3rd position. The other great news I have is that probation assisted in funding a alcohol and other drug position for us. So we are currently in the process between probation and I completing finishing off an MOU, memorandum of understanding, for to finalize all of the little nuts and bolts so that we can move forward and post for that position. That position will be a alcohol and other drugs case manager that will provide substance use abuse groups within the juvenile hall. They will provide case management. They will also, of course, be responsible for discharge planning and providing resources in the community. And
Go ahead.
go ahead. Was there a question?
No, I'm so happy. I'm just so grateful for that. We've been looking for some sort of substance abuse for so long. So thank you so much for all of your efforts on that.
Well, yeah, thank you, probation, for funding the position for us. And the last piece I do also want to mention, and I'm sure some of you have heard about the juvenile justice CalAIM, all the changes that are coming from the state for us for that. We are going to be we're in the beginning stages of implementation for that, working closely with correctional health and of course probation for what that's going to look like in terms of pre-release care planning, post-release care planning, and a lot of case management that will be really focused when the youth are within the juvenile hall setting. And yeah, there's going to be much more to come on that, but just wanted to kind of put that out there right now.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? So that'd be public comment. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for Rahina Moreno with BHRS? Thank you so much.
Any speakers on Zoom? Please raise your hand if you wish to speak. Okay, no hands are raised.
Do we have a representative from Fresh Lifelines for Youth or FLY? If so, if they could raise their hand, we do.
Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, if you plan to speak, please raise your hand. Maria Tozado Cruz?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
Maria, giving you the permission to be a panelist so you can speak, and also Christopher Cortez Lopez.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Hi.
Good evening.
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, awesome. I believe, I don't know if Chris Bett's already in, but she was gonna go first, but if no, I can start. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria, and I have a few updates for our state program and secure track. For our state flight program, we started with the great year. All of our youth who have community service as requirement for probation are on track to complete them before the deadlines, and one has already successfully completed probation. For a secure track, our case manager has constantly working with our youth inside juvenile hall to support them with their goals. And one person is receiving his personal training certificate, and the other one has completed all of his courses for his AA degree. And I do have a question for you guys. I'm not sure if you guys can answer that right now, but we have a potential youth who's interested in the youth ambassador role. So I'm not sure if there's still openings for that. We would be interested in know if there still is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Please contact me after the meeting and we'll go ahead and coordinate that. Thank you so much. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Chris Beth Cortez Lopez.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Chris Bett. I'm one of the reentry case managers with Fly. I'll just share that for reentry program, we have 4 youth that are currently employed. One is currently enrolled at CSM and he's on track to get his AA this spring. And then we have 1 youth who is doing a policy fellowship in the organization, and she had her first outing to Sacramento, and she's really looking forward to advocating for youth justice and sharing her experience. So I think maybe it's a person we're thinking about for also being involved with JJDPC. And yeah, the final update is just that we're working with probation to expand our work with the reentry population. And we have a bowling pro social coming up in February. So yeah, we're looking forward to, enrolling new youth and also having some fun activities with them.
That's wonderful. Thank you for the work you do. Does anyone have any questions for Fly, for either of our representatives from Fly? Comments? Yes, Commissioner Huber.
I just had a point of clarification so we all understand. When you're referring to the reentry population, you're referring to youth who have already exited juvenile hall? Or are you referring to youth that are in the process and looking forward to exiting juvenile hall?
We work with both. So we recruit them in the juvenile hall. So we start pre-case management with them in the hall when they're like 2 months out. And then when they recidivate, we also still follow their cases when there's recidivism. So right now we do have 2 youth that are in the juvenile hall after recidivating, but the efforts are to work with them once they're out in the community and reentering. And so our population is 18 and younger. And then the one that Maria updated about would be the 18 to 25-year-olds.
Okay, so the 4 youth that are currently employed are youth that are no longer in the hall.
They're out in the community.
Yeah, in the community. And the youth doing the policy internship, same thing.
Yes, she's out in the community as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that wraps up our updates from our system partners. Thank you all for being here. And so we'll call for public comment, Suki, on this item. And that would be any of our updates from our partners.
Thank you, Chair. Members of the public, if you wish to comment, please raise your hand on Zoom now. Anyone from this room that wishes to speak?
Yes.
And if you could state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, Rebecca Keeler. I just had a quick question of the drug and alcohol program. When is that person starting or that program starting?
I think she said that the job hasn't been posted yet. There's some nuts and bolts and contracts and MOUs that have to be established, and then they can post the job. It sounds like it's getting a little bit easier to hire clinicians. I know it was hard for a while, so I'm happy to see that. So it may be some time. Any other questions on the system updates? Okay, so that brings us up to our 2025 election of officers. And so tonight we're going to be voting on chair. I am nominated for chair, and Commissioner Hooper Levy is nominated for vice chair of administration. So if I could, does someone want to make a motion?
Motion.
Okay, and the motion would be to what would be the wording on that, Suki?
Sure.
So whoever makes a motion, they can do motion to appoint Joanna Rasmussen to chair, Corinne Huber Levy to vice chair administration, and then,
We're going to hold off because Tiffany's not here.
okay, great. So motion.
Motion to appoint Joanna Rasmussen as the chair of the JJDPC
And
and to appoint vice chair of the JJDPC, Karen Uber Levy,
to administration.
to administration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second. Thank you.
And through the chair,
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those wishing to abstain?
I think I need to abstain from my voting.
Oh, do I have to do that too?
you don't have to abstain.
No, okay, I vote for
Okay.
myself, so.
Okay, and I vote for myself. Okay, so that has unanimously. Thank you so much. We're really trying to get to this as quick as we can. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your faith in me every year. Okay, so now we're up to annual inspection reports. As many know that we are way behind schedule. This is usually done at minimum, we wrap up in January, and we still have the YMC inspection wide open. So we are behind schedule. So Suki is going to help me with the presentations. I lost my computer this morning, and so Suki's been wonderful in helping me do this. So first up is Camp Camp. And as many folks know, but I'll reiterate to the public, Camp Camp was a girls' program. It was a program for girls who were staying there long-term, between 6 months to a year. They were committed there by the juvenile court. And it was a residential program that also had some aftercare components where the girls would come up to the facility and go to school. And it was like a 3-phase program. So that program has had some ups and downs over the last few years. Our population declined, and then probation was entering into contracts with counties like Sonoma. There was an intent to enter into a county with Santa Cruz. Commissioner Bocanegra and I expressed concern to the board of supervisors that we didn't feel it was in our best interest to be incarcerating other counties' children. And thankfully, the board of supervisors agreed, and they didn't move forward with any more contracts to incarcerate out-of-county children in San Mateo County. And so what that meant was that we didn't have a population for girls at Camp Camp. So we actually met many of our goals, right? If we don't have girls to enter into the program, then we are doing something right. So the inspection team consisted of Commissioner Jackson, myself, and Commissioner Williams. Commissioner Jackson's no longer with the commission, but he was present at the inspection. There were no youths present during the inspection, and the last youth who actually stayed overnight was in in October. And you'll see, and actually that's a mistake up there. It should say October 2024. And I am still waiting for probation to confirm the actual date of when that youth left and the actual date of when Operation sees that the Girls Empowerment Program, which is one of the stages, the later stages of the program. So the facility is currently sitting vacant. So next slide, please. So the population of Camp Kemp during this inspection period, which for the public, I'll remind everyone, is from August 1st to July 31st every year. So we served 4 youths. 2 of those were incarcerated and the average or committed to the program. And the average length of stay was 216 days, which was just a little bit less than last year. The 2 youths who were committed there were from Redwood City and San Mateo, which is very much in line with our juvenile hall population. It seems like Redwood City, San Mateo, East Palo Alto, San Bruno are always our top cities. The cost when the facility, this is a little nuanced here. So when I requested the cost to operate the facility, I received the figure for debt payments, what we owe on the buildings, and staffing. So I didn't receive anything for food, I didn't receive anything for clothing, I didn't receive utilities, education, medical care, nothing, just the bare bones. So that this number could be misleading because it doesn't include a lot of stuff. But so what the number I got when it was operational was $3,196,532.04. And now that it's sitting vacant, it's costing the county $1.8 million to sit vacant. Thank you. Safety issues, these were our main concerns. We didn't have any programming recommendations because we didn't have any youth in the facility is closed. Main concerns were preserving the facility. So there's some safety issues that have gone on for 3 consecutive years. They're pretty serious, and we're fortunate that no one's been injured, because that picture right there, there's a gaping hole. Like that hole goes, what, 3 feet deep? And there's a big utility pole at the bottom. As you can see, that plywood is not secured. The gate that's supposed to be closed off to secure that facility, that gate has been broken for 3 years. And the fencing is also compromised. The facility also has a problem with nesting birds. This is an ongoing problem. I know they've called people out to remove feces. This is in the gutters and the roofing of the internal building, like above the classrooms. So when you walk on the sidewalk, there's all this bird feces, it's pigeons. So we really need to get that under control. So we need to get a professional person out there who can actually remove the birds, remove the feces, secure all the entry points, and then really sanitize the area, because it's really a public safety issue with that much bird feces. And then we'll need Public Works to come in and assess what the damage is, because this has been going on for a considerable amount of time. So we don't know what the damage is. And then facility maintenance is deep cleaning of the carpets, furniture, maintaining the gym floors. The facility has a beautiful gym, so it would be a shame to let that floor just go into disrepair. And then proper storage of the building contents, because now it just looks like a ghost town. Like the girls were here and now they're gone. So we really need to pack up what we're going to do with these items to preserve them and to care for them. The last thing I would want for this facility is for it to go into such disrepair like Camp Glenwood, right? We don't want that. We've invested in this facility. We should maintain it and look to repurpose it. Next slide, please. So feasibility study. So here's where we come in about repurposing. So the big recommendation out of this report is to request that the county do a feasibility study for the alternative uses for this facility. So you can see the overview there. You've got the gym. The gym is the one you see on 280 when you're driving by that big green building. That's the gym. And then you see we've got multiple buildings. We've got classrooms. There's so much we could do with this facility. And while it was purchased with bonds that have restrictions, there are many uses that ways we could use this facility for probation, justice-involved youth, and we have serious service gaps right now that need to be filled. And that would be to turn this into a secure track youth facility, a separate facility for our secure track youth. Another option would be a step-down program for our secure track youth, like a camp environment, but for the boys, or an inpatient substance abuse treatment program, or a transitional youth shelter, a transitional age youth shelter or housing program. In the last 3 months, I've been very surprised at how many of our former probation youth are now homeless. They're 18 years old and homeless. So we have a serious issue with transitional age youth not having a place to stay. So that would be another recommendation. So we would then send this to the Board of Supervisors and request that they look into, can we make that facility into one of these to meet one of these critical needs that we have? And is that the last slide? It very well could be. Okay, so that was basically the highlights of the report for Camp. Does anyone have any questions? Or do we need to make a motion first, Suki, to discuss it? Okay. All right. Does any commissioners have any questions about the Camp report, comments they'd like to make on it? Commissioner Blanco? How did you know? Because I saw your smile.
It gives me away. So I wasn't able to read, I'll be honest, I wasn't able to read the whole document. However, the pages that I was able to go over. I had concerns of all the no markings.
Would that be for, would that be for the secure track or would that be for Camp Camp?
I think it was Camp, was it not? Because it's closed.
Yes.
But there was a lot of requests made and probation wasn't adhering to the request regarding all the information that was needed in order to fulfill
Oh, yes.
our duties
Yes.
of the report.
Yes.
And that's very concerning for me, as this is one of our mandates. And so I don't know, moving forward, how we can rectify those concerns.
It is a serious concern. We've never had to wait. Usually we wait like 10 days at most. And we waited like 4 and 5 months. And that's just, I think that's a result of us having that food data last year and someone being surprised by the data and then saying, okay, no data is coming through unless I push it through. And that's really hurt us because we, you know, you'll see in the secure track, we use that data. We want to know who's there, how long they're there, who are they, where they come from. That's all very important. So one of the recommendations, I mean, I made a special, it was so bad that I actually made a special section of the report to talk about how bad it was. But we'll continue. I'm supposed to be having a meeting with the chief coming soon, and this will be one of our topics that we'll be discussing. And we have to get this back on track. This is unacceptable.
Agreed. And the other thing that I noticed was the usage of the word denied. So I just don't understand why we're being denied the information that we are requesting that we need in order to fulfill our mandate, our duty. So that's something I hope you can bring up with him as well.
Thank you. Questions? Yes.
We do have Nicholas.
Oh, okay. Should we let Nicholas go, Kim?
Nicholas, please proceed.
Hi there. I was wondering, so obviously it has an annual cost, like when it was operating, of $3.2 million. I was wondering, how does that stack up against other facilities that are currently operating within San Mateo County? Additionally, my second question is, are there any other vacant facilities that are currently in San Mateo County that are not being used?
So to answer your question, we don't really know the exact figure of what it costs to operate the juvenile hall. That's information that we've been trying to get for a considerable amount of time, but we'll touch base more on that when we do that inspection report. We do have another juvenile detention facility that's been closed for many years. It's called Camp Glenwood, and it's fallen into disrepair, but I know the Board of Supervisors last year formed a subcommittee to look into the feasibility of reopening it. So in San Mateo County right now, we really have the juvenile hall and a unit within the juvenile hall where our secure track youth and non-secure track youth are housed. Am I forgetting anything, Ron? Is there another place? No,
That's my question. I have one more question, which is, are there currently any privately owned and operated facilities that San Mateo County utilizes? I know that in other counties and states, they use those. I was wondering if San Mateo County is also partakes in that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so excellent report. There's a lot of detail there, and I'm really grateful that you did such a concise and concentrated overview that helps us focus on what some potential positive steps moving forward could be, and really, you know, elevating the issue of not letting the amazing facility that was winning all sorts of accolades with the results, you know, not letting that facility fall into disrepair. And the alternative uses for the facility that you presented just sound incredible and useful and needed. Have we had any discussions with probation on this? Or I know we've talked a little bit about potential uses for it, or probation has had discussions with someone about it and heard about it. Do we have any current report on the standing of potential uses?
No, but that is something that I intend to bring up at our meeting, because we also have the issue that we'll be bringing up, you know, with step down. I mean, we have a lot of needs and that facility is like just blinking at us. Use me,
Right,
right?
and it's a beautiful facility for anyone who has toured it.
Yeah, once we fill that hole and fix that gate, we will be fine.
And I'm wondering if this is an appropriate time for us to consider a presentation to the Board of Supervisors, just to provide them with what we've seen as a citizens oversight group. Not to dictate what the next steps are, but to just provide them with a vantage point from, the people they've appointed to look at these things, the Juvenile Justice Commission, to report back to them with, maybe not, they do get the full report, but I love your concentrated overview with specific,
Thank you,
pointed suggestions.
So I will reach out. We still have the YSC report to wrap up, and then I will reach out to Supervisor Canepa, who's our liaison, to see if he could get us on the agenda. And then we could do this sort of highlight for all the Board of Supervisors on each of our, whatever we want to include for the inspection process to bring to their attention.
And I do like the urgency of, making sure that that facility doesn't decline into disrepair and just become unusable in the moment, that the beautiful gym and the library and everything else are maintained and protected and, hopefully used fairly quickly.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments before? Yes, Commissioner Bob.
I'd just also like to state for the record that this was number one, a great report, very detailed report that all of you put together here. But I just want to highlight that this camp that we're talking about, the capacity to hold 30 kids, 30 youth. We heard the average, I think, is 25, or there's 25 currently right now, youth there. But some of these youth have been discharged that we're working with in the community, and they're homeless. And the fact that we began this commission meeting with public comment that the fire camp, the step down program, or the conversation is on hold is somewhat alarming, because here we have an operational step down program that our regional counties are all tapping into to really provide a second chance for these youth. And our conversation with allowing our youth to access this transitional program that, public safety is at stake here when I'm talking about these things. And we have these conversations on hold, and we have a beautiful facility that our taxpayer dollars are paying $1.8 million for non-operational costs. With a lot of our services being cut, I think it's important that the community and the public send some sort of response to the probation department and their supervisors to let them know that $1.8 million right now, when we are slashing support for many nonprofits across the country, that's unacceptable. And that, that our chief should really take this to heart and ensure that this can be utilized by our county youth. I think it's important. And it's also important that representation be present when the community has a million questions regarding our taxpayer dollars being used on facilities that are empty, while our kids are sleeping on the streets or in vehicles, attending schools, and after being paroled from these facilities. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I wish that probation would have been present or send a delegate to be present, because this is alarming information, and this should come to you as a big surprise, and hopefully cause you to act by sending an email to our probation department inquiring about how this space and how these monies can be better used for our taxpayer dollars and for our kids. Thank you.
Just wanted to make one clarifying point is probation likes to, whenever we issue a report, I will send it to the probation department. Last year we ran late, but that didn't happen. But this year I sent it to them. I gave them some dates to meet to discuss it. I didn't hear back. Today, I got an email. Sorry, none of your dates work. Can you meet soon? So we'll be working on that. Any other comments?
I just had a quick follow-up question. And you mentioned, which really kind of struck me, the data that some of the youth that we're aware of are now living on the street. How do we know that? Are we tracking that?
We work with, Paul and I work with them in the
So they're
community.
youth that you know?
Yes.
Yeah, so, so there could be more.
Yes, that's just the ones we know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I just wonder if there's any way to kind of get better data on that. I think that.
There seems to be a trend to terminate kids when they leave, and there's no step down or really real reentry program to do that transition. So when they terminate, they're not eligible for services. And so you spend a considerable amount of time. We'll get into this in the next report.
Okay.
So I don't want to go
Yeah.
too far into it,
That's fine. Thank you.
but it is a relevant issue. Okay, if there's no more commissioner comments or questions, then we'll move on to public comment. So there'll be public comment. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I do see, 3 hands raised, in Zoom regarding, public comment for item 5D, annual inspection report on camp. And I believe one speaker from Chambers. So, go ahead, please proceed, from this room and then mention your name, please.
Just one quick question. Since these facilities are not operational, just to know, what is the 1.8 million spent on?
What I was told was that's what we owe on the building. Those are debt service payments that we're making to pay off the building.
Your name for the record?
Arnold Morales.
Okay.
Thank you, Arnold. Becca Keeler?
Becca Keeler, I just want to sort of second what Commissioner Blanco and Bocanegra said. I've toured both these facilities. This is a really nice and very restorative, a really wonderful facility. It would be a real crime to let this go. And from a taxpayer standpoint, it's kind of unconscionable. So I really hope, thank you for the good suggestions. They were great suggestions. Any of them would be wonderful, but to have it just sitting there and end up like Glenwood would be a crime.
Thank you.
Thank you. No additional speakers from this room, so we'll go with the Zoom. Raimundo Armendariz, please proceed, followed by Nancy Goodman.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on Commissioner Bocanegra's comments. I wanted to say that SB 823 or their DJJ realignment required that counties provide less restrictive programming as well as a secure youth treatment facility. And both of these camps, whether it be Camp Kemp or Camp Glenwood, both seem to like fit that description. So it's kind of surprising that they're not being used, and yet we send youth, outside of San Mateo County as far as Amador County for a facility that could be provided locally. So just wanted to piggyback on that.
And Raimundo, we didn't even send the kids to Amador County. We don't even have a contract.
Right.
Sir Reyes, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to emphasize that the issue regarding using camp as a step down or a less secure facility is an issue that's been brought up for a couple of years now, since whenever the idea of it being closed down. Informal and informal meetings with probation, we have pitched that idea and the need to have that facility be an option to utilize for our youth and the client will present as it provides just optimal options for what we need it for and how to serve our youth out the transition and their re-entry plan. So it's not something new. We had multiple meetings because there were focusing on perhaps using it as community school, and we objected to that as that's not something we need. Our youth should be going straight back to their home school. We don't need another community school. So at least I feel that idea is off the table. We haven't heard anything, but as far as it being used as a step down facility, I think that's the only logical step for us to be moving forward. I think we all should be kind of coordinating efforts and pushing for that to be happening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your efforts on that.
Thank you. Next speaker is Nancy Goodman, followed by Pat Lord. Nancy, please proceed.
Hi, thank you. My name's Nancy Goodban. I live in Redwood City. Thank you so much for these alarming reports, and I agree with the commissioners and other commenters. With regard to Camp, it's crazy that we spend $2 million, almost of our taxpayer dollars, every year standing empty while there's a desperate need for more services for kids in the county. So I truly support your recommendation to ask the Board of Supervisors to do a formal feasibility study to repurpose it for secure track, step down, substance abuse, transitional housing, or whatever. I did want to comment, because it's also item 5, with regard to the YSC and secure track, I am just shocked that there's been no action in the past 2 years on food service, the step down programming, the multi-sensory room isn't being used, vision and dental service isn't timely. You still have people in the community buying ethnically appropriate shampoo for the kids, for goodness sake, and no shoes. Some of this stuff is like low-hanging fruit. You could get it at Target. And why the heck not contract with Pine Grove Youth Camp to help the youth get rehabbed? So it really seems like the county's out of compliance on a lot of these state requirements, and that might result in these safety issues you have in that other report. The big increase in the charges filed. Why not provide rehab and treatment services instead of filing charges and having these kids pile up in fights because there's nothing else to do? Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Next speaker is Pat Bullard. Pat Bullard, please proceed.
Thanks. The thing I would like to bring up is that seeking public support for this initiative means that it needs to be clear to people what the alternatives what the alternatives are, so that positioning as we have an empty facility while kids live on the street is such a generic kids living on the streets that I don't think I could not grasp the attention to kids generally living on the streets while this facility sits vacant. Should it be any kid living on the street? Should it be occupied by kids just getting out of parole and trying to get their act together? Or is it some sort of way station where they can live comfortably and then go out and find jobs, or on the job training or what have you? For John Q. Public to want to join the party to advocate for this, you have to be more precise about what you're proposing as alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Our last speaker on Zoom is Darius Perrock. Darius, please proceed.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Darius Parak. I am the new Bay Area liaison for the Office of Youth and Community Restoration. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the insights that have been raised by the Commission as well as the public comments. And I wanted to offer that as a state agency that is now taken over for DJJ after the closure of the state prisons, we do offer technical assistance. And I had reached out to the commission chair. I would be happy to have some conversations and to speak with you all more about this. And I can follow up after this meeting as well. But I just wanted to say thank you again and to introduce myself as well.
Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
Of course.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the camp inspection report with the exception of we need to make the modification of when we get those dates?
So the chairwoman.
Yes.
Add one more thing before we move forward to our vote.
Yeah.
Recently, I had a parent come to me informing me, just asking for help. Her daughter is addicted to substance abuse and she didn't know where to go. So I kind of did some calling. I called BHRS. And currently there's which was offered was just these two programs. One was where the youth would go in and the other one would be where there's support for the family and then also for the youth. But it's not an inpatient care. And so when I asked, is there any inpatient program here in our county? The answer was no. I kind of already knew the answer. However, so I said, where do we send our youth? They said, the lady had said that we do contract with a rehabilitation center, but in Sonoma.
It's interesting. When
So it's just, I think that we do need to take care of our own and not, like, as you said, send our kids away, which makes it harder for families with whatever situations their family might be in, whether it's transportation, be able to go visit their children. So anyways, just wanted
And
to add that.
participate in the
And I wanna just
therapy, right?
Want to add that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
I just wanted to just piggyback on everything that I heard. And I just wanted to take the time to highlight the movements of probation on abandoning facilities. We have the private defenders department here who stated for more than 2 years now, they've been advocating for a step-down transitional program with probation. You heard our chair share that we attempted to rent our empty space out and wanted to get into the business of incarcerating other counties' children. We have the closure and abandonment of Camp Glenwood. And right now, we have an empty for more than 2 years now. We're spending $1.8 million a year on an empty facility. And the trajectory doesn't look good for Camp if we just look to what happened to Camp Glenwood. So I just wanted to highlight that again, and just make note that there are many of our youth that are living in vehicles right now, and we have multi-million-dollar empty youth facilities, which absolutely makes no sense in the county of San Mateo, where equity is enormous. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, did I have a motion to approve the camp inspection report with the understanding that when the dates are received for the closures of both programs, that they'll be entered into the report?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Bocanegra seconds. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those wishing to abstain? That report passes unanimously. Thank you.
Could I also make a motion that we form, or that we discuss the formation of a project or subcommittee to coordinate our response to your recommendations?
Yes.
And I'm just listening to our esteemed colleague from Private Defender Office who has indicated an interest in coordinating, and I think it might be worth a conversation to think about who of our other stakeholders would be useful in order to make a presentation that's really robust and multi-stakeholder.
That would be fantastic. So we would just form a subcommittee. I don't think we need to have a vote for that.
Okay.
So we will form a subcommittee
Sounds
to
good.
address the recommendations. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so moving on to the secure track, a secure youth treatment facility. A lot of times we call it secure track, but it's technically its own entity. It's technically supposed to be its own facility, although most of the counties are housing these youth inside the juvenile hall. The state gave a considerable amount of money to sort of modify those housing units so they'd be more home-like, more therapeutic. And not much movement has gone on that. So this year, because our population went from 1 to 5, so we had a big increase in population in secure track, and because it's really supposed to be separate, I pulled it out and made it its own report. I know it's a lot, it's almost 90 pages, but I think if these are our most serious offenders, and if we're not serious about rehabilitating them, then that comes back on us as a community, right? We want these kids to succeed. So this is why this year we have a separate report for this. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so for members of the community and members who are here who may not know, that when Senate Bill 823 passed, it closed all of California's youth prisons. Some people knew that by DJJ. Folks like me and Paul remember it being called CYA. but they were closed as of January 1st, 2021, and the responsibility for rehabilitating kids went back to the county. So now all kids stay in the county, and they can stay with us up until they're 25, just like they did at DJJ. And so in 2021, the San Mateo County Probation Department created the SOAR program, the Success and Opportunities Aspiring Readiness for Reentry. So SOAR, the kids get a t-shirt, says SOAR. And the kids are currently being housed in the Pine 4 housing unit inside the juvenile hall. And that unit is not exclusive to Secure Track kids. That unit also has juvenile hall kids. So our Secure Track youth have their, what's a court-ordered IRP, or individual rehabilitation plan. So it's court-ordered rehabilitation programming that they're required to take. But they're also sharing space with kids from the juvenile hall who have a total separate programming. And so that makes it difficult to manage. So one of our top recommendations this year is to open up a separate unit. So all of the Secure Track kids, they don't have that transition of new kids coming in and out, upsetting the balance of the unit. They can just focus on their rehabilitation, have their own program, and move forward. Next week. Okay, so the population, as I mentioned, went from 1 to 5, and it's expected to grow another 3 to 4 in 2025. We have some kids in other counties who may be returning back to us. The average length of incarceration is 3.7 years, and we don't have a single step-down program or anywhere else to send these kids in the least restrictive environment. The average age is 20. All 5 of our Secure Track youths are Hispanic. New charges, serious incident reports, new charges went up 900%. This means that when kids are getting into a fight, they've broken a window, they're caught with contraband, new charges are being filed. Now, these kids are adults now, so these are new adult charges that are being filed that are going to be carried now with them throughout their lives, right? The goal of the juvenile justice system is to rehabilitate them before that can happen, to give them their best shot. So the reason why this is so shocking is because our neighbors in Santa Clara and in Alameda and San Francisco, they're not filing like we are. So we are missing opportunities. We know that these are our most serious offenders, so they have issues. That's why they're here. So we should be using these incidents as examples to guide them, to work with them in the moment with the therapy and tools that we have available. But instead, we're filing new charges against them. All but one of our serious incident reports went up. Those include like self-mutilation, suicide attempts. It's all broken down in the report. And we do have an agreement with probation to that we're supposed to be notified within 72 hours of these. And so reporting was very inconsistent during this inspection period. I think I got maybe 3 notices about what was going on, because we want to know. We want to know before the end of the year that we've got a 900% increase in new charges. Commissioner Blanco, did you have a question?
Well, all I wanted to say was hearing with our neighboring counties. So why do you think that we are charging them with more?
I can't answer that. To me, I have nothing makes sense to me. So I can't answer that question.
Or do you happen to know why the other counties are not?
Well, I think the other counties, just from, let's say, San Francisco, for example, they understand that kids are going to get in fights. They understand, just like we used to do in school, like we didn't always call the police when kids got into fights. I mean, we've just upped the ante now and criminalized everything. So they understand in San Francisco that they're dealing with bigger problems. And so we're not going to spend our time, taxpayer money, court time, all the resources to file more charges on kids who are going to be here for many years. It just doesn't make much sense. So the state of California has provided the probation department, or the San Mateo County, with $6,810,893, and that was to modify our unit, our Secure Track unit, to modify the space. We even formed a subcommittee, the Reimagined Juvenile Hall, to see how we might utilize this funding. I'm really not aware of any modifications that came out of that. Are you, Ron?
I just want to be clear
Yeah.
that that funding is not.
Could you speak into the mic?
Yes, that funding listed above, I believe that's not for the physical change, that's a
Oh, okay.
different grant.
Okay.
The probation got, I think they got $1.6 million to.
For the facility.
For the facility itself. This is to provide programming
Okay.
for the secure track.
So to create, it would be accurate to say to create the secure track, the secure youth treatment facility to help in aiding the county and doing that, the county gave that much money.
Essentially, yes, to create the SOAR program that's probation created for, as an answer to the closure of teaching.
Thank you. So we had of that money, 1.6 was for modifications. And I'm not sure.
That's separate.
Oh, it's separate. So that's in addition to that. Okay. It's very difficult to get these numbers. So we have the money, I guess is the point. We have the money. Next slide, please. Okay, education. Education is something that for the most part goes very well. Our kids are excelling. Most of them are on honor roll or dean's list. We had one who graduated already with an AA degree. We have several who will be doing so in the spring. And our high school students are also doing exceptionally well. As we mentioned in our education report, there were a few things that were concerning, and that was, you know, the college students are sort of brought over to the school building into this room, and they're sort of left on their own with a probation staff member who makes sure that nothing goes haywire, but they're not an educator or a para-educator. They're not there to support on these asynchronous classes where the kids are like self-paced and most of them have learning challenges. So having someone in that room is important. And throughout this inspection, we had problems with kids having their education, their access to their education just removed outright. So if they got in trouble, it was like, no more computer. Well, how do you work on your school? How do you work on your vocational stuff? How do you work on any of your programming that is online? There are no textbooks for this. So that's just completely unacceptable. And we've had kids who, because they've lost access, that they had to drop classes, and they do this to preserve their GPA because they're really proud of their GPA. They're working hard for this, and they don't want to lose their financial aid. They also get financial aid. So this is delaying their goals. And so it just doesn't seem fair. They're doing their share, and we need to do ours. Next slide. So recommendations. So the SOAR program doesn't have a handbook. Like if you go to the juvenile hall and you enter the juvenile hall, they give you a handbook. Camp had a handbook. SOAR doesn't have a handbook. So the kids you're on Pine 4, you stay on Pine 4, and you're not given any information. There's not any structure to the program. So there's no formal outline that says, okay, here's what you're going to do in your first year or your first 6 months or your second, after 12 to 18 months, there's nothing. There's no way for the kids to gauge, well, here's where I am and here's what I need to do in order to be eligible to do something else. They have no idea. They go to the court every 6 months and hope that they may get a reduction. But as you'll see, one of my other recommendations on the next slide is the probation officers weren't trained on the California Rules of Court. So they weren't even making recommendations in these reports. So these kids, there's no incentive. They're trying, they're doing their best, and yet they have no way to gauge where they are in the rehabilitation. And we want them to take ownership in that. That's important. Program rules. Are we using the rules of the juvenile hall, or are there separate rules for SOAR? Because SOAR kids are older. They have different rights, different things going on. They have different programming. So what are those rules? We need those outlined. Again, I talked about inability to track progress. Family night in other counties, San Francisco, for example, Secure Track eligible and Secure Track youth, they have a monthly family night visit where the family can bring food. And so it's culturally relevant. They come and the extended family comes and they have a nice visit and have dinner. And it's a very nice thing. In our county, when we did the youth survey and talked with the parents, we had some who had been there 2 years who had never had a family night. Others who had been here 3 years had 2, so it's very inconsistent. And the kids told me that family nights are not happening right now because there's no money to pay. They provide the food, and so there's no money to do a family night. Visiting was also restricted during this period. There was some issues with contraband. And so kids were required to visit behind glass, which is very much like the county jail, right? So we're just more criminalization behind the glass. So some parents would say, you'll see in the report, I didn't want to bring my young children, the siblings, to visit behind glass. What I tell my children is they're here to work on themselves and they're doing better. And that just gave the whole jail feel. And I don't want to expose my kids to that. So one of our recommendations is to just resume in-person visiting for approved visitors, because there was a significant amount of time, even kids who hadn't been found to have violated any rules had their visits taken away as well. Next slide, please. So a separate housing unit, like I spoke about, training for probation officers under the rules of court, because that's what's required of them to make a recommendation. Should they have a 1 month reduction? Should they have a 6 month reduction? What should it be? Also, I want to touch on the probation officer caseload. We have a couple kids who have an adult probation officer. The mission of the adult probation system is different than the juvenile system. So I think that our youth should be supervised and they should be on the caseload of a juvenile probation officer and not have this crossover, because we may forget that kids have certain rights or things are done a little bit differently. And I think that makes it very unclear. And I think that we may not have had some of these problems had we just kept the kids with a juvenile probation officer who is trained in child and adolescent development, who understands juvenile law. I think that might have made a difference. So the items that are in need of replacement or repair would be the carpets. They've been destroyed for 3 years. Every year we ask for new carpets. They say it's in the procurement process, but I would recommend laminate flooring because they eat on the units and so it gets really stained. So replacing carpet just seems like a waste. The facility needs painting throughout. The paint is peeling on the unit, and the wall shelving that we were told was ordered in 2022 has still not arrived. The mirrors in the cells all need replacing. They're scratched really bad, but I believe that happened when the unit was fully operational pre-pandemic, when the population was around 100. And so, the kids they're shaving now, right? When you're flossing your teeth, you want to see yourself. And so I think those need to be repaired. The lobby, visiting hours are after hours and on weekends. And so the main building to the Youth Services Center is closed. And so if for anyone who's ever been there, you walk in and it's a very small lobby with like an electric door, and there's 3 seats. Well, up to 16 people can come to a visit. So we don't have adequate seating, but we have the space for it. So we're recommending that and it can get really hot in that little space. So we're recommending that they set the timers to keep the doors open when people are waiting in there to get fresh air, so it doesn't get so hot in the air. There's air circulation, and then we add more seats to the lobby. That's the main lobby. Next slide, please. Okay, Youth Bill of Rights. So we've had a couple issues with Youth Bill of Rights, as most folks know, has been something that Paul and I have been actively working on since the law passed. And so kids not having access to their education, the technology needed for their education, is a violation of Section N. And the probation also stopped allowing youth to visit with me on a confidential basis, even though I'm appointed by the Board of Supervisors and the court. So I classify as an appointed official and I'm an advocate for youth. But that's a new thing that's come up. So that's a violation of Section K. The department's policy on electronic communications is very unclear. The Youth Bill of Rights tells the kids in the work and the materials, if you have a computer, you can use it to communicate with your family. So they use it to communicate with the family, and probation says, well, it's not meant for that. So there needs to be some clarification on what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, just for some clarity and so they understand. Because it shows up as a rule violation. And then one thing that that strikes you every time you go into that facility and you see the kids during a movement, they walk with their hands behind their backs. And just the psychological impacts alone of having to spend 3-4 years in a facility where you are required to walk with your hands behind your back every time you go to school, every time you go to visiting, every time you go to see the nurse. So San Francisco doesn't do that. I know that was a safety concern and that's why that was put into place, but we are strongly encouraging that the use, we'd like to see no hands behind the back, but at least in the secure track youth treatment facility, we think that that is a policy that's long overdue, needing change. No, okay, thank you, Suki. Okay, and then the glaring thing, right? No step downs. We did that beautiful, Ron and I went to Pine Grove, we toured the facility. We were excited about it. It's already there. It costs $10 a day. So it's not as though it's gonna break the bank. And yet we don't have a contract. We don't even have a contract. So how can our kids who are trying to do well and trying to finish the programming in their IRPs say, I want to go to fire camp? We don't have a contract. That's on us. That's on us that we don't have that contract. And we have no step downs. We not only do we not have any step downs, we haven't identified one. We don't have like a contract pending. We have zero. Is that the last one? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So this is a very long, comprehensive report. I'm sure there was a lot of things in there were concerning, but those are the highlights. And I'll open it up for questions or comments from commissioners.
Question just on that last slide. Is it up to the court to order a placement in Pine Grove? And if so, does there need to be a contract in place for the court to have the opportunity to order that a youth be placed in Pine Grove?
It was my understanding from when we went on our tour that they said that they need an MOU of understanding. There's liability when kids fight fires. They're not just going to accept a child without a contract.
My understanding is the same from folks at the camp, but what your question is, as advocates, we will ask when the time comes for, that step down for the camp. And then that's gonna be an issue that has to be litigated, and then the court's gonna do what it's gonna do, and then we'll see what the next steps gonna be coming up. So.
But with no options, it makes it harder for the court to order something because where are we going to send them?
So there has to be like a program in place for the court.
Well, what I'm saying is we can, part of our representation is to put some options to the court. Like, for example, there's no other step down. There's a new case that came out that says electronic monitoring at home should be considered a step down. So these, there are options with, then we would have these options, we can have, if our client wants to go to fire camp, we would be advocating for that, and then try to ask probation then through that to figure out a way to get our youth to fire camp. This would be our position, but that's why I want to be clear. And those are the issues. Alternative two would be that we don't have any other step downs, and the step down would be then we want our client released on electronic monitoring and into their home as a transitional way for them to re-enter and continue on with their rehabilitation program in the secure track.
I see that Suki just told me that John Keene has his hand raised.
Chief Keene, promoting you to be a panelist so you can speak.
Hi, Suki, have you moved me over yet?
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you very much. So, first of all, let me say I apologize for not being here from the beginning, but I'm actually out on medical leave. But I was contacted by my staff based on some of the conversations that were being had here this evening about things that probation is doing or not doing that seem to have a need for me to speak to them. And so I'm joining, and I know it's late and you guys are probably getting ready to transition into your next part of your session, but I just want to add a couple of quick points. We work with you all in a collaborative space as best that we can, but our responsibilities to the young people that we serve and to the community, I think we try to clearly establish with you every single opportunity we have. And we try to work with every single person who comes through our doors from a position of positivity and honesty and transparency. And I'm concerned that some of the things that were shared here tonight that were not accurate about the way in which we conduct our business, that were not accurate about the way in which we work with the young people we work with, which were not accurate about the way we're doing things in our facility, seem to undermine what our goals are. And so I just want to say, for the benefit of the public and the benefit of people in the room, that my goal has never changed. And that is to provide a safe and secure and restorative process and environment for the young people we have. However, there's things that still need to be in place from a safety and security space that need to manage that. And when things kind of go awry or things are not consistent with what this group would like to have happen, I think we try to work with you all from a position of transparency, and we try to work with you from a position of collaboration. We don't work from a position of thinking that you guys are the enemy or that somehow you are villains in this and somehow that you're doing something wrong. But that does not seem to be, in my opinion, transferred over to the relationship that you all try to establish with us. And I just would like to respectfully ask that if there needs to be answers or questions that need to be asked, give us a fair opportunity to answer those questions so that we can provide accurate information out into the space. My staff were on the call. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, they couldn't come off mute to say or answer questions that were being asked. And so, that is that. But I'm here now. I am willing to step off of my personal space to answer questions you guys have so that we can kind of move in a position of transparency, honesty, and collaboration. With regard to the idea of people going to this new program, I've said it here before. I've said it to the partners before. If there are young people that would like to step down to the program, getting an MOU in place is not a problem. However, we need to actually have either a recommendation or a suggestion from council that that's what they want to have happen. And then we can facilitate that on an individual basis for the young people that you're interested in stepping down into that program or into that camp. I have never said that I'm against the program. I've always said I'm supportive of the program, and I'm willing to do that. And so, Ron, if you have somebody that you would like to see go to the program, we're going to be supportive of that. So, when that opportunity presents itself, you're going to have my full support in that. But I would like to just answer any specific questions about anything that was said earlier or questions you have for me about what we're doing or what we're not doing.
Well, I appreciate you, Chief Keen, especially being out on medical leave. I did give your staff an opportunity to meet with me. I gave 3 dates and I got an email today. This was a couple weeks ago that they were sorry they couldn't respond to me. But we've been waiting for many months. The data was delayed for several months. I absolutely believe that you want what's best for the kids. I just don't know that that message trickles all the way down to your staff. They make comments like, we're not doing step downs, we're not going to Pine Grove, kids' education's being taken away. I don't think that's your policy.
I don't think that's accurate, Ms. Rasmussen. I think that, when you say the education is being taken away, I firmly know that that's not accurate. We certainly have limitations that we placed on situations that have arisen in the space that are required for us to do things differently because we've had significant violations of our policies that have not only put, the actual facility into dangerous spaces, but have actually had issues out into the community. We have not taken this issue lightly. We try to work our best around education opportunities. We offer alternatives when those situations, come about. And we're not talking about giving people packets. We've given them alternative ways to address access to education. But if a young person chooses not to do that because they don't like the modem or the method that it is, that's not us denying education. And as far as kind of this idea that the staff are not supportive of step downs or not supportive of programs, I just don't believe that's accurate. I really don't. And I would like for you to give me specific examples of which people that you've talked to specifically that have told you that so that we can address that. Working in hypotheticals and kind of generalities, they don't work when you start to get into situations where you're suggesting that people are actively motivated or actively acting in a way that's contrary to, treating people with fairness and dignity. So to me, when you see those situations, you or anyone else, I would encourage you to say, hey, John Keene said that you all don't do programs, or John Keene said whatever, whatever. That's the type of information to me that helps me, if in fact there does need to be something weeded out, that I can actually weed that out. But I can't work off generalities.
So there's no generalities. It's the same individuals that we reported on last year. I'm looking forward to meeting with you when you get back from your medical leave. I know we talked about meeting, and I'd be happy to share all of these incidences with you. And this information just doesn't come from me, or just doesn't come from the kids. It comes from parents. It comes from teachers. It comes from people at County Office of Ed. So we just don't put this information out there lightly. We actually talk to a lot of people and vet the information and give your staff an opportunity to weigh in on the report. I'm really not sure what more I could possibly do, but I'm grateful that you're here. I appreciate the partnership, and I look forward to meeting with you when you return from medical leave.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I want to just reiterate, thank you, Chief King, for being here, for listening in. I'm really grateful to your staff to let you know that you may want to weigh in. This is Commissioner Blanco speaking, one of the newest members here, and it's no secret I'm new and I'm still learning. However, I'm not sure if you and your staff have been able to read the report, and so the comments that I've made earlier regarding the numerous times that I've noticed the word denied and information that we seek from staff in order to move forward with what we're mandated to do regarding these inspection reports. And so I also, like, for example, just right before you got on, one of the youth interviews here, it says that youth have described numerous policies and practices that were in conflict with the youth of Bill Wright. So obviously these are comments that are not coming from my fellow commissioners that have done this work. And so we are a partnership. And so once again, I'm just glad that your staff shared with you to weigh in. So I do appreciate you being here, but all the comments that I have made are coming from the report. So I just wanted to clarify some of the comments that you've made. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. And I would say that, generally when we have reports like this where comments are made, we have opportunity to sit down and actually vet each of these situations, because I'm still going to hold true to the fact that I know the work that we put in to provide opportunities and programming for young people. And so to me, this idea that somehow we are intentionally creating environments that are contrary to that, those are situations where I definitely want to get into each one of these examples and, talk them through, because it just seems inconsistent with the general processes in which we have in place. Now, we know that there's going to be disagreements about things, and we know that when there are rules or policies or practices that are implemented that are contrary to what a young person would like in that environment, we know that that's going to create tension and stress in those spaces. But tension and stress versus an actual violation of a policy, or that we're somehow intentionally trying to bar a person from having educational opportunities or doing things that are contrary to established rights, I think are, two totally different set of circumstances. And so I look forward to kind of going through each of these examples and having a more broader conversation in an appropriate forum about these things.
Thank you. Commissioners, additional questions before we open it up to public comment?
Sure.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you, Chief King, for coming out of your medical leave to represent these kids that are under your supervision. Kind of surprised that your staff would call you and not answer some of the questions or engage in the dialogue that was occurring behind Camp. But regarding Secure Track, I do have a couple of questions. Again, sorry that you have to come out of your medical leave just to answer these questions on behalf of your department. But one of my questions is regarding the policy of DA referrals here in this report. And with working with some of these kids, we noticed that there's a 900% increase in district attorney referrals. And I just would like to say that I was at a trial, public hearing trial today for a youth who's been there over a year and hasn't had access to these programs that SOAR and Secure Track have to offer. And I can only imagine that these kids, when they come into our system, I think we all can agree that they're broken, that they've been exposed to some sort of complex trauma. They don't have the proper tools to conduct themselves responsibly. And we hope that when they fall into your institution, that when they are returned to the community, that some of these tools will be instilled in them so that public safety can be met. So with that, I just wanted to ask that these kids are still developing. They're still learning how to grasp some of these conflict resolution skills that they will receive in your program. But before they're able to grasp these tools, they're still dealing with conflict, still dealing with mental health, still dealing with trauma, the way they were when they fell into the system. And we heard today from the BHRS, and want to thank you for reaching out to her to secure a substance abuse counselor. We know that that is very needed, and we want to thank you, and we want to highlight that work on your behalf. But that comes also with the but, Chief, that these kids can receive a DA referral before they receive substance abuse treatment in this facility. And so my question surrounding the policy of DA referrals, as a survivor of the school to prison pipeline, how is the probation department weighing when to send a referral to the DA requesting that the DA prosecute these kids for some of the conduct that we are hoping that they learn to mature out of, if that makes sense?
It does make sense, and I appreciate the question. Thank you for acknowledging the work on the part of BHRS to try to get additional resources in and services in, and they've been great partners in the work. With regard to referrals for DA referrals, traditionally this has not been a part of the way in which we have done business in our facility. However, with the dramatic rise of violence towards our staff, violence towards young people, towards one another in our space, it would be negligent on our part to continue to allow some of this escalating violence to continue. It's really important that we don't do anything or say anything here that identifies any particular youth in an instance, in a situation. And so I'm going to refrain from going into too many particulars. But what I will say is that, this is not something that we take lightly. When we get to a point to where there needs to be a referral to a district attorney's office for a violent assault or an attack on someone in the space, it has been thought out to a point to where we've tried to consider other options, where we've tried to de-escalate, we've tried to have multiple attempts to work with the young person in alternative means before we get to that, only to have those situations still yield the same results. And just like you're concerned about a young person receiving a referral to the district attorney's office, another young person's family will be concerned if we continue to allow their young person or their loved one to be attacked and to be hurt under our watch. So safety and security it's not just about securing things for our individual employees, which is important too. But we're thinking about the space that we have other young people in that are being violently attacked, who are being targeted repeatedly to be attacked by members of their peer group in the space. So once you get to a space where you recognize that you see a pattern of behavior and you understand that regular traditional interventions are ineffective, you have to be responsible and think about what is going to be the proper way to deter this behavior. And frankly, to your point, hopefully also stress to the person unfortunately doing the behavior that this is not the appropriate means for how you resolve conflict. This is not the appropriate means for how you address issues with your peer groups. Now, I think that your kind of question or commentary that it may be easier to get a referral to the district attorney's office than it is to get conflict resolution or things of that nature. Respectfully, I would disagree with that. And I think that the increase you see is more a reflection of, unfortunately, the situations and times that we found ourselves in after months and months, frankly, of situations where people were injured and assaulted, and alternative means didn't kind of create an alternative way to deter that. But I assure you that our goal is never going to be to turn the environment in a situation where we are stacking charges up on people for the benefit of just doing it in some kind of negligent or um, in cruel fashion. We recognize that, as you pointed out, that, that escalation certainly has consequences for that young person's arc in terms of how they kind of process through the system. And my goal is always going to be for young people to step out of the system as quickly as they possibly can. But to my point, I have a responsibility to not just the young person who's getting the referral, but the young person or the staff themselves that are also on the receiving end of the unfortunate behavior. So certainly hear your concerns. I certainly recognize your concerns. We do take that into account, and we're being mindful of our use of that to do so in a diligent and thoughtful manner.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question, and I appreciate the explanation. I just wanted to recognize you for accepting this youth into Pine Grove, willing to work with the community as well as with the private defender's office in ensuring that these kids have the opportunity to seek a career. Right now, firemen are our heroes in Southern California, and we have a youth here from our county who is seeking rehabilitation and more than willing to line up with these heroes down south and help our community. And the thing that I'd just like to highlight is we pay $1,689 per day per youth, not including other debts. It would cost us $10, the community taxpayer dollar, $10 a day if we send a kid to Pine Grove, and also we secure him with a career. So I just wanted to highlight you for recognizing that, and thank you.
And and like I said, Pine Grove is certainly something I support and believe in. And I will make one slight correction to your $1,600 a day mark, is that part of that does include the debt service for the county itself. So if you take the debt service out, that number reduces significantly by at least $600. And so still too much, in relation to really what could be used alternatively for that money. I certainly agree with that. But I will say that whether it's Pine Grove or other programs that are alternatives for potential step downs, we're definitely in support of that. We're hoping that whether it be Santa Clara County or other counties here around who actually have programs in place, we will be willing to contract with us and offer opportunities for the courts to have options for step downs.
Okay, any other commissioners with comment?
Commissioner Clemner, or did you want to speak?
Yes, I would like to comment.
You go ahead, please proceed.
So I heard earlier, and I'd like to thank Mr. Keene for coming on here, even though he's on medical leave. My name's Nicholas Clemmer. I'm a new commissioner. I go to Menlo Atherton High School, and he asked to be put in contact with people who feel like they've been deprived of education and ample resources to education while incarcerated. And as a student at Menlo Atherton High School, I, through volunteering, have come in contact with many students who have made their way out of juvenile hall. And many of them come back to MA failing classes, as well as not performing well to graduate, which further exacerbates the effect and is another huge factor in recidivism. And so there are dozens of students at MA who are in this similar tract. And it's just something that feels very ingrained that when they're leaving these places, the education is not on par with what they're getting in public schools. And so they're set behind even more, especially when that is, you know, combined with the societal and as well as the other implications that have made them commit these crimes in the first place. Like, they're obviously very under-resourced people, but then they're coming back into school like with not enough resources to do well and thrive. So I was wondering if, from your perspective as someone in charge of probation, what measures are you guys taking to ensure that the education that these people are receiving while in juvenile hall is ample and comparable to that in public school, so that when they come back, they won't be set behind? Thank you.
No, thank you. Great question. And it's really nice to see a young person like yourself being involved in these conversations and their questions, because I think it ultimately does demonstrate that, you know, peer groups and young folks that are working on both sides of the spectrum are certainly going to have a positive impact for our unfortunate system-involved youth. To answer your question, it's important to note that, you know, my primary focus and goal, or role, I should say, as a probation chief in the juvenile hall, is to make sure that I provide a space where education can happen and that none of our policies become barriers to the actual instruction of education. Now, as far as the actual type of education, the quality of that education, and things of that nature, I certainly rely heavily on the professionals in the Department of Education and our peers who work in that space to do that work. What we try hard to do with them and in support of them is ensuring that the environment is there for them to, you know, provide spaces and provide information and education that will certainly have a young person be prepared once they leave the space to either resume school or advance school or whatever the case may be. What I personally do, and my role as the chief, is to stay connected with our kind of partners in this space locally and at the state level to understand what are the traditional requirements for a young person who's in high school, you know, in a non-detention space, and understand what their needs are. What is it going to take for them to be successful? What does it take to get into college now? What classes are necessary? And then when I'm talking with the people who work in education, my questions and my support for them is, hey, how do I help you put together the curriculum that's going to be supportive of that? Working very closely with the superintendent of the schools. She is a very close partner in this relationship. I know she understands what's necessary inherently in that fact that that's her livelihood, that's her profession. I try to be supportive of that in every way that I can. So the short answer is, I do my best to stay abreast of what's necessary and then ways in which probation can be supportive of providing the space for that. And to the points that were made earlier, which I'm, like I said, I'm very anxious to get into these individual instances where it's been viewed that we have barred young people from receiving education. I want to get into those and understand those in situations, because I know that that's not my philosophy. That's not my belief system. And I demonstrate that not only here locally, but my involvement on the state level to advance areas of education in carceral settings. So, and it may not give you a specific answer that you may be looking for, but I hope that at least puts a frame around some of the basic principles.
Yes, thank you so much for your answer.
So now, okay, could we have public comment?
Sure, members of the public, if you wish to comment on this item, item 5E, please raise your hand in Zoom. If you wish to speak on this room, please let me. Okay, no speaking. Would you close the please? Let's take your name for the record.
Hello, Arnold Morales. Chief King, I am extremely new and I might come across a bit ignorant. I do not know you. I don't know what your policies are. I don't know a lot of the people here, and I'm just trying to, as public, be informed. And I have recently had a son that was in custody at Hillcrest and was recently released. He's 20 years old, and I couldn't possibly think how he would operate at his young age without us. We've been extremely fortunate to have a positive experience at the probation department and with the staff. And our son managed to stay 2 years and come out in a very positive manner. And we have a small home, a very humble home, and you know, our family is now complete. But I just cannot begin to imagine a person who is disadvantaged coming out of probation and all of a sudden be confronted with reality of them having to be responsible for their lives, especially some that do not have either a parent or neither parent. And so I'm hearing that most of the time the youth choose not to enroll in a step down, but that is available. I might have misunderstood that. Most of the time, you know, once they are released, we could make a better effort, but at the end of the day, it's council or their choice. That's kind of what I understood. So I think if the goal of the juvenile system is to rehabilitate the kids, and you know when they are going to be released, and we know that they are young and they're not going to make the right choice as far as do you want to go to a somewhat restricted environment, like a step down after your sentence is completed. Most of the kids are going to choose no. No, I don't. I just want to be, you know, I'm done with my sentence. So why is it not our responsibility to preemptively say, okay, this kid is going to be released, let's say, in 2 months, and have some type of step down shortly before the sentence is completed, when it's not their choice. We know what's going to happen. They're just going to go on the street, and if they don't have the fortunate, I don't want to say arrogant, but we're very fortunate to be a complete family, and our son have a lot of support. And you know, my son, I don't want to brag, but he did his job there. He did the best he could to get out of there. But I still cannot think, even in his situation, how he would operate in a positive way or take advantage of the rehabilitation that he received if he was by himself. That's all I want to say. But I think that it's your or our responsibility to think ahead of time before they are released and have some type of step down program when it's not their choice.
You know, I'll say this, sir. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your experience with the group. Your son is truly fortunate to have you and your family to be supportive of them. And as you pointed out, you know, it's sad that so many young people don't have that. And I agree with you. I think that preparing young people for that period after they leave is, you know, dramatically important to their long-term success. You know, our partnership with CBOs like Fly is really indicative of our desire to have a reentry program that young people will want to work with that frankly is not part of the juvenile justice system. I really have wanted and continue to want my probation staff not to be involved with spaces that frankly CBOs can be the ones who can help support young people and re-engage into the community in a fashion that doesn't feel connected still with the system. And to your point, certainly a preemptive step down or something early like that can help some young people who can be prepared for that. I think the challenge is always going to be, to your point, whether young people are willing to accept it or not. There are certainly legal limitations to certain things that I know counsel would speak to better than me. But I think also, too, the environment of our county, certainly step downs have not been something where, you know, getting a brand new system built has been something that is really on the radar for the immediate future. And as much as I know Kemp is, you know, is looked at as a viable option, there are other things that, frankly, potentially Kemp can be used for that can have a broader breadth of support for a broader range of individuals. So I say all that to say, sir, that I definitely agree with you that having something for young people that are transitioning out is critically important. My goal and my hope is to build out more CBOs like Fly who can do more of this reentry work and preparing people before they get out to be, you know, better equipped with those things, and then hopefully make them attractive enough to where young people will want to choose to do that.
Thank you. Becca Keeler?
Thank you. Rebecca Keeler. I'm a community member. I'm also co-founder of In Our Care, San Mateo County, and we're a community group that was created to support our youth in the system, and as well to support all of you and all the other organizations here, the partners that support these youth. And I know we're getting late on time, so I'm going to be real brief here. I have not finished the report, but I've read the great majority of it. What was upsetting to me, and thank you, Chief Keen, for being here to speak to these things that we're bringing up. What was upsetting to me was several things. Number one, I've been following this for about the last 3 to 4 years. I'm seeing the same recommendations being made. I understand these reports are mandated by the state, and yet the recommendations, there's nothing is done with them. And I don't understand that. If there's some reasoning behind that, I'd love to understand better about that. I think all of us that are here have the same goal. These kids do come back to our communities. If we talk to people in the communities, they're concerned about safety. If you saw what happened at the ballot box this last November, people are concerned about safety. The way we create safety, in large part, is to rehabilitate these children. Data shows us that punitive punishment does not rehabilitate, especially not children, and that rehabilitative restorative justice is what brings down recidivism. So I want to encourage us to use more of that model, less of the punitive punishment model. I have talked to kids that have been in YSC that have said they've had their computers that they need for school taken away from them for acting out. If my kid acted out, I wouldn't keep them from school. I'd find another way to do it. I was like blown away that is something that's being used as a way to whatever. It doesn't make sense to me. And I also just want to say, all of us are here to see that these kids can come back into the community as healthy, productive citizens. We want them rehabilitated. In Our Care, I'll make this offer. My co-founder might shoot me because I didn't ask her first. I'll make this offer. We're here. I'm here. We In Our Care is here to work with any of the partners to do whatever we can to make this as strong and as rehabilitative of a program and as programs as is possible. And I would really hope that this time next year, when we see the annual reports, that some of the recommendations that have been mandated to be researched and are being put out there are being implemented. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see that Chief Keen's hand is up. I'm going to go through public comment because there may be several things that he may want to address. So let's finish that up now.
Sure. I believe there's no other hands raised on Zoom, but we did receive one written comment. I'm just going to share on the screen, and I'll just read it really quickly. My name is Bethman Hamster, and I'm a Belmont resident. The Commission's recently released inspection report raises extremely troubling issues about the administration of the Youth Services Center. A common thread of the report is that these youth are treated as if they're undeserving of humanity, compassion, or respect. Housing them in cold, dirty, or harsh conditions with inedible food is doomed to incite incidents born out of their despair. Youth recidivism is a completely predictable consequence of the punishment model that seems to pervade the center. What do we expect when we weigh them down with 900% increasing new criminal charges, deprive them of their academic tools as punishment, offer them zero step-down program to transition back into society, and deprive every single one of them of to brand new part of their reading and vocational training modules? The academic success of several youth in spite of these conditions is a testament to their determination and a demonstration of how much potential these children have, if only they were provided with genuine rehabilitation instead of crushing punishment. Is that a written comment? So back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Chief, did you want to briefly address that? We're over time. We're 15 minutes over time.
No, ma'am. I only raised my hand just simply say I got transitioned back to the other side of the panel, but I don't have any other comments.
Thank you.
I apologize. Yeah. Chief Keen, I have participated in MDT meetings, and that I was told that the step down programs were on hold by your staff. I also, during that same meeting, a youth said that he needed to talk to an immigration attorney, and he was told that he did not have permission to talk to an immigration attorney, that he needed to go through his own attorney to do so. I pointed out that that was a violation of the Youth Bill of Rights, and your analyst, Tony Burchins, backed that up, and so we moved on from there. I also saw with this youth that I've been tutoring, I saw the grievance he wrote saying that his desktop and laptop were taken from him for violation. And I saw that the agreement that he came up with ISM Richwood, in which the desktop was reinstated, the laptop was not. And that's a great solution. But the fact that that computer was taken away from him at all, unilaterally, sorry, that no computers were available to him, that's that problem. So that's just some personal, I was sad to see that some of my observations, which are independent from this report, were reflected in the report. The report is detailing what I consider shameful conditions. And if you look at the statistics on page 25 and the rates of increased self-mutilation, the use of mechanical restraints, threats to staff, and suicide attempts, and the adult charges suggest that there's a toxicity that's shocking and should be considered a demand for better programming, better communication with the youth, and the need for step-down programs and preparation for reentry. SOAR stands for Success and Opportunities Aspiring Readiness for Reentry. Opportunities. What I see is that opportunities for these children are lacking. And I asked myself when reading this report, what does the future look like in San Mateo County? Unlike other counties adjacent to us who are investing in rehabilitation, it seems that our children are being prepared for adult incarceration. And given what appears to me to be serious, chronic, ongoing management problems, I wonder whether it would be appropriate for the commission to hold a no confidence vote in the leadership of probation. And also, I would ask that the court provide some leadership here so that it can confidently remand children to the secure track program.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? With that, I need a motion to approve the secure youth treatment facility report.
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second motion.
Thank you.
To the chair, I have a question regarding moving forward on approving this document. So I'm not sure if probation staff have viewed the report.
They were given
and
an
have they-
opportunity and they,
have they responded to it?
I gave 3 dates 2 weeks ago, and I only heard back this morning with some additional dates. But I gave the opportunity, and we're months behind because we had to wait so long for the data. We've never had to wait this long. So we need, I'm happy to, I'll meet with them. I'll take whatever suggestions they want, but we cannot continue to hold this. We're going to be in the next inspection cycle.
Just wanted to find out.
Thank you. And I would have liked that opportunity. That's why I tried to make that happen. So all those in favor of approving the report, say aye. All those opposed? All those wishing to abstain?
Commissioner, I believe, I think the newest commissioner left the meeting, so,
Okay.
yeah, he will be absent for that vote.
Okay.
Yeah, so the motion is canceled.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So I'm mindful of time and everyone. So I want to just briefly touch base on the remaining parts of the agenda, which are the annual inspection, the annual report. So I hope that, I know this was a lengthy agenda packet, but the annual report this year sort of outlined some of the work we've done, our inspections, projects, our events, the field trips we went on, the training that we received, the presentations we've given and received, and our current commission membership. And this report was dedicated in the memory of Mama D, who passed away this in 2024. So do I have a motion to approve, or is there any discussion on the item for the annual report?
Motion to approve.
Okay, great.
I was just going to suggest that maybe during we could discuss it.
But we have so much on the next meeting. Did anyone have any issues Because if we do, then we'll table it. But if we don't, then it would be nice to move it forward. Any motions?
We have a motion by Commissioner Clemmer. We just need a
Oh,
second.
second?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Bocanegra. All those in favor?
Before we take the roll call, there were two speaker slips. I don't know if there's one to comment, maybe just quickly, Rebecca Keeler, did you want to comment on the second?
I think
Okay, perfect. And then Melissa Wilson is left. Any comments from Zoom? Okay, you can take the.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the 2025 annual report, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? All those wishing to abstain? The report is passed unanimously. That goes to our next item, which is our operating policies. I will hand it over to Commissioner Huber Levy, who may have some additions or an update to provide on the operating policies.
I do think this one is worth a bit of discussion.
Okay.
And review, so if we could just push it to the next meeting, then I'll
Okay.
prepare a little.
Do I need a motion for that?
Yes, please.
Okay, may I have a motion to move the 2025 operating policies to review and approve them at our February meeting?
I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those wishing to abstain? And I'm an aye. All right, so that brings us to 7:35 and matters of commission interest. Does anyone have any announcements or anything that they would like to announce?
So Chair, I do. I
Okay.
emailed a video and a link to a event that is happening, hosted by San Mateo County Office of Ed on February 13th. So, that's it right there. I went to it last year.
Okay.
I believe I did speak a little bit on it. It's a really great event, getting all, stakeholders throughout the county. And that's the theme for this year. And so if any of you are available, I'm going to sign up to go again. It's a great experience. And so I want to share that with you all.
Thank you so much. If you could, I don't have a computer right now,
I will.
but if you could text it to me, I'll put it on our
I
social
want to
media.
make sure that it's on record. And then I do have a video regarding Oye. I'm also a planning committee for Oye, which stands for Orgullo y Educación, translation, pride and education. This is our 13th year, and I just want to share the video. It's on March 22nd, so
okay.
I'll be sharing that information as well, so we can show it.
Thank you.
You want me to play the video?
Yes, please.
We're here at the 12th annual Oye conference here at Kenyatta College. It's been an exciting morning so far. We've got lots more planned for the afternoon. I went to my first Oye conference years ago when I was still at Sequoia High School. The Oye conference is somewhere where leaders are born and community is built. People come here to build community and walk away learning more about the resources that are out there that can help them out. Also, they get to find out what's that passion, that spark that's inside of them that they want to work on.
We have over 500 youth joining us today as they take advantage of going to workshops and having performances and inspirational speakers. It's a beautiful, joyful event, and we're thrilled that we're hosting it at Kenyatta College. It's the largest this year that it's ever been. It's thrilling to see all the youth and their families here today.
Oye, for me, is a time where the Latinx community comes together and show their support for each other. We get involved and we have a lot of fun. The workshops here are pretty unique. I don't really see them often in other type of conferences or any events like this. So that's one of the things I really like. I love the resource tables. You get to learn a lot about things offered within the community. Oye really is a place of exposure.
Really the purpose is to lift our voice and lift our community, which is the theme of this year's conference. When we talk about raising our voice, there's got to be a fire. There's got to be something that sparks our voice. Too many times I think we don't say anything or we don't say enough, and then we expect change. Change happens when something is said, even if it's just something little.
I was one of the outreach interns for the 2022 Oye. That's how I got my start. I've been with Oye as a planning committee member as a participant, as an MC, and now as a trainer.
I first started off as an intern, and then last year, 2023, I was a workshop leader, and now I am an MC. Raising your voice is very important to advocate for yourself and for others. And with that, you raise your community.
It was really important for me to get out of my comfort zone. And I think that just getting the opportunity.
The internet is really strange, but if you want, I'm more than welcome to send it to all of the members.
Yes, great. Yes, we can put the link on our social media. You don't have good luck with internet videos. You just don't.
We will, gotta stay optimistic.
Okay, I know they're working on it. Okay, so the time is now 7:40 PM and the January annual meeting of the Juvenile Justice Commission and Delinquency Prevention Commission is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Stacey.